Hi everybody, this is Sean Fallon from Dickerson High School, and what I'm about to share with you is a workshop session that I went to on September 29th on Performance Matters. So let's take a look. Our objective is to gain a fundamental understanding of the Unify/Performance Matters data platform and how we can use it to improve instructional outcomes for our students. The platform, powered by Performance Matters, it's called Unify. What it is a data organization platform that is going to be phased in over the next several months. The site is going to replace the Scantron Achievement Series data platform as our source for creating assessments and compiling data from those assessments. This platform is already in use and contains all of our recent district testing data, including PARCC, the SAT, PSAT, DORA, DOMA, ADAM, and the district quarterly assessments for ELA only. We're going to receive our login credentials within the next few weeks. The goals for this year, what the district would like is for us to focus on just uploading our testing data to the platform and working with teachers on how we're going to be analyzing the data we collect. The Unify platform allows us to store all of our assessment data in one place for easy access and comparison. Our training this year will focus on data analysis and understanding how to look at the different data we collect and how we're going to use it to drive our instruction. For next year, the assessments are going to be phased in. The training is going to shift towards assessments. The testing that we do on this site will be available inside the platform. It's going to be both site-based and district-created. The site-based question banks and assessments are aligned with our standards and curriculum and are created by the same company who creates the PARCC and their exam questions. Our administration and other content area supervisors are going to use these question banks to help create assessments for us so we don't have to. Most tests are computer-based, but we're still going to have the opportunity and be able to use paper assessments where we scan the results in, just like we did on Achievement Series using the Scantron. Some of the questions that came up at the workshop, number one is the number one question, was, is the platform going to be compatible with Infinite Campus? The answer to that is yes. All of our Infinite Campus data is going to be uploaded to our students' profile every 24 hours. So we're not going to be asked to keep, our regular grade books and information on Infinite Campus and then be asked to keep a separate profile for our kids and their test scores on a different site on Performance Matters. It's going to be all together. Another question was, how long does it take for quarterly assessment results to be loaded? The answer was 24 hours maximum. I know there's been issues in the past with Achievement Series with our quarterlies, taking a long time to get uploaded. From what I was told, if it's a computer-based assessment, the results are usually available within minutes. If it's a test that we've created and scanned onto the system, usually it's 24 hours maximum. Okay, so we'll have a much quicker turnaround on being able to see our results than we did in the past. One of the questions I had was for my special ed students. I asked, will special ed teachers be able to modify the district assessments to suit the functional levels of our students? The answer to that was yes, but truthfully I didn't get a very good feel for the presenter really understanding what exactly I meant. I mean, she understood the concept of me having to modify exams. She just really wasn't positive how they were going to do it. In a few minutes I'm going to show you guys, looking at an actual test item, you're going to see that the site gauges the difficulty level of the question. And from what I was told, we as teachers are going to be able to adjust the difficulty level of the questions on the exam. So we would theoretically be able to make questions easier or harder if we had to, based on the ability levels of our kids. The last question, and the most important for us right now, is when are we going to be responsible for making the full transition from Achievement Series to Performance Matters? Unfortunately, the date is unknown, but it's already been phased in. As I said a minute ago, all of our district data is already on there right now for the tests that we've taken recently, and we're going to be moving pretty quickly, apparently, with this platform as we go forward. Just a quick timeline from the information that I gathered at the workshop. I have April 2016 here and June. Basically, last spring our kids were testing, and that data was uploaded to the site. Okay, now that we're back to work in September, the district staff was introduced to Performance Matters and the Unify platform. It was passed down from building administrators, supervisors, VPs, down to teachers who are going to turnkey it to everybody else. That's what I'm doing right now. Pretty soon, sometime during the month of October, we're going to be given login credentials, and we're going to be able to start actually working with the site. And by next spring of 2017, the goal is that we're all comfortable with the site and we're ready to start planning for assessments on the site that are going to start in September. This was just a very brief overview. I want to spend most of the time navigating the platform for you guys to show you exactly what I learned. If you have any further questions about the platform, what it is, what it does, how we're going to use it, please feel free to email me at sfallon@jcboe.org. Michael Byrne, our tech coordinator, was also there with me at the workshop, so you can email questions to Mike. I'm sure he'll be happy to help you. He's mbyrne@jcboe.org. Okay, so let's move on, and we'll take a look at the actual platform and how we're going to use it. Okay, the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is to not use Safari if you're an Apple person, not use Internet Explorer if you're using PC, don't use Firefox. If you could, please use Google Chrome. I found that Google Chrome is the web server or internet platform that works best with Performance Matters. There's much less freezing of the screen. The data screens move kind of freely from one to the other, and for some reason that I can't explain to you, Chrome is just better. Okay, so when you go to Google Chrome, it's really simple to find it. Just go to Google and type in Performance Matters. Okay, when you search that up, the first thing that pops up is their home page. From their home page that you see here, I go up into the right-hand corner and I'm going to click Sign In. That'll bring you to the Unify page. This is the actual page that I saved in my web browser, so when I go to my bookmarks and my favorites, I type this or I click on this, and this is what pops up. It brings me directly here. So if you're going to save this to your bookmarks or to your browser history, this is the page that you're going to want to save. Okay, go to Customer Login, and when you get there, in the username for the credential, what you're going to use is GA. Okay, and you see it pop up right here. For yours, it won't pop up because you've never been in this before, but for mine, you can see it right here. What we're going to log in as is GA_District31. Okay, that's GA_District31. And our password is going to be training, TRAINING. Okay. Where this will bring us is to a page created by the people that were giving us this workshop, and we're going to be looking at data from a fictitious school district that they made up just for the purposes of having this workshop. Okay. First thing you do is just look at the navigation tabs. Some of these aren't going to be visible for teachers. Obviously, the administrative settings that you see here are not going to be something that we have as teachers. Where we're going to focus today is reports. Okay, before we go into reports, I'm going to just minimize this live chat support square here just because it pops up a lot and it can interrupt what you're doing. Also, if you don't want to listen to this webinar and you want to go through the manual yourself and figure out how to use this platform on your own, you can click on that little blue book that I just clicked on. You scroll down here to User Guides, and when you click this here, it will download for you the site's user guide. And it's only 344 pages. You're more than welcome to read it whenever you like. If you'd rather do that, then listen to me for the next 15 minutes. Okay? So to access the test data that we're going to be looking at today, just go to Reports and click on Student Item Analysis. Okay, Student Item Analysis is the first kind of data platform that we're going to look at. And you know what that is really simple. It means you're going to be able to analyze a specific test that you've given your kids item by item. Very similar to what we did with Achievement Series. The only difference now is that this site is going to allow us to look at the data and break down the data at a much higher level. Okay, the test that we're looking at today, just type in math, and what should pop up is Math 8 Geometry 4. If it doesn't pop up for you, you're more than welcome to just type that in, and it'll pop up right away for you. And when I click on this test, what you see here is all of the item attributes for the test. Okay, what we're looking at here is a snapshot of a test that a group of students took. Okay, if you scroll down just a little bit, what you'll see is the total number of students that took the test. The average score on this test was a 65, and you can go student by student to look at exactly what every kid did for every single question on the test. Okay, before we move down to that, I'm going to just focus up here on the top for just a minute. This is where we see the achievement bands. This is where we see how we're going to access a report. It gives us a full look at exactly what kind of test we took. Okay, in these gray bars over here are the standards. Okay, pay close attention to that. And then next to the standards, you're going to see number of items. This is just the number of questions on the test that relate directly to that standard. Okay, so for example, the first standard here, I'm not going to read the whole thing. This is a math standard that is, it's about congruence, basically. Okay, so for this particular standard, there were 3 items on the test that deal directly with it. Okay, for this standard here, describe the effect of dilations, translations, etc. There are 3 questions for that standard. For this standard, 2 questions, and for this standard, 3. Okay, just a brief overview of what standards the questions were built from and how your kids did. Okay, in these red, yellow, and green spaces here, these are our achievement bands. Okay, and for those of you who aren't familiar with achievement bands, what they are, basically they explain the percentage of students who fall within each achievement level. Okay, the district sets these levels. For this first achievement band, 28 students fell into the level that the district deemed was failing. Okay, 59 students, or 45%, that you see here in the yellow, these are the kids that fell into that middle range of scores that the district determined was, either partially proficient or, partial mastery. I don't know what the words that they're going to use, but somewhere in that middle group. Over here is the mastery level. Okay, the green achievement band, band 3. There's 42 kids in this band. 32% of the kids that took the test fall into a range where they consider it to be mastery. Okay, so just looking at these bands of data for kids that took this test, this is an 11-question test. Okay, 3, 3, 2, and 3. That's 11 total questions. Okay, and what they did at the workshop was ask us to find the red flag on this picture, in this picture here. Okay, and obviously to me right away what jumped out was the 71. Okay, if I was a teacher for this class and I see that 71% or 71 kids, 55% of my students weren't able to answer these questions correctly, the first thing I would do was take a look at the standard and take a look at the questions and kind of try to think back to what I did in class to try to teach the kids that standard. Okay, if I was going to revisit something from this test, it would be this group going over this standard and these questions. Okay, so just at face value, it gives you a really easy way to pick out red flags for kids that aren't doing well. It shows you exactly what they aren't doing well, and it shows you the standard that they're supposed to be working on to kind of get those questions right. Okay, over here on the right, you see district, and you see, again, 3 achievement bands. AB1 is band 1, AB2 is band 2, AB3 is achievement band 3. Okay, these are the number of kids and where they fall inside the district as you compare it to other schools. Okay, so it's not just my 129 students who took this test. It might be 9th or 10th grade students across every high school who took this test, and I can compare my kids' scores over here to other kids in the district across the board. Okay, this other tab down here, these depth of knowledge and question interaction tabs, I'm going to get to that in a minute, but as you scroll down, this is where you're going to have an item-by-item analysis of the test. Okay, it has every single one of your kids. It has exactly what they scored on the test overall. And as you go question by question, you can see exactly what they answered and, kind of exactly where they went wrong. Okay, this is question 1, question 2, question 3. You can see that as I hover over the questions, it gives you an overview of what it is. Okay, it tells you the points possible for the question. It tells you how that question is weighted. And then it gives you the depth of knowledge level. Okay, the depth of knowledge level is how hard the question is. Okay, level 1, level 2, level 3. As the levels go up, the question gets harder. Okay, so if I was a special ed teacher and Jacob, for example, was a kid who was in my lower group who was struggling, I would probably make sure that I would want to mix in as many level 1 questions as I could. Okay, on the other side of that, if this young lady here, Chloe, if she was one of my brightest kids and I really needed to push her and I wanted to, increase the level of rigor with this young lady, I would make sure that I mixed in level 2 and level 3 questions. If it's a district assessment that's created by one of our supervisors, this is something that we're going to have to talk to them about and make sure that we have access to do so that we could modify these district assessments for our special needs kids. Okay? It tells you the type of question, multiple choice. It tells you the grade level that the question is asked at. If you go over here and you click on this little play button, what it will do is open up a window that shows you the exact question. Okay, it shows you exactly what it looks like. It showed you how the kid answered. And it also shows you what's called a distractor analysis. These are possible reasons why the kid got the question wrong. Okay, so once again, very similar to Achievement Series, just a little bit more depth to what we can look at. Okay, you notice that for question number 1, it's either green or it's red. Okay, this was a multiple choice question that you either answered right or you didn't. If you answered it right, you got 1 point. If you answered it wrong, you got a 0. Okay, pretty cut and dry. If you move over to this question, what you're going to see is a short response rubric scored question. Okay, so whatever Jacob wrote as his answer, we're obviously going to be able to look at that in a minute. I'm going to show you that in a minute. But for his answer, he got a 2. Okay, you see some kids got a 2, a 3. 4 is the maximum score you can get. That's why it's in green. So the site shows you the difference between a response question that's going to be scored by the teacher versus a multiple choice that's either just right or wrong. Okay, so you can scroll through the types of questions. You can click on, for this one, the play. It'll show you the exact question. It'll describe the rubric, how you get 4 points, what 4 points is worth, etc. And it's going to show you exactly what this student typed in as their answer. Okay, so you can go item by item and actually figure out how a student gets a 2 or a 3 or whatever they get. Okay, if you want to give that student an explanation of it, you can do it electronically. You can email it to them. You can print it using this feature. Okay, so that's just a quick overview of what we're looking at, how we're using this data to break down the response for each one of these questions on this specific test. I'm not going to go too far in depth into it. I just wanted to give you a brief overview of exactly what the page looked like and how to navigate it. When I click on achievement bands up here, this is going to show you the bands or the percentages where the district has deemed the kids would be cut off at. Okay, so if you scored a 0 to a 54% on this test, you'd fall into band number 1. If you got a 55 to a 77, you would fall in that middle band number 2. And mastery would be 78% and up. Okay, as a special ed teacher, the first question I asked was, am I going to be able to change these band levels for my kids' levels? Once again, the answer was unknown, but I would hope that our administration and our supervisors would allow us to determine the levels that our kids should be functioning at. Okay, so for this particular test, the district has set these bands as our levels. You see that my 129 total students, we had 48 that fell in band number 1, 48 band number 2, 33 band number 3. To me, there are no real red flags when looking at the achievement bands for this particular test. It's a pretty good distribution of where the kids are. If I had 100 kids inside of band number 1 and 40 here and 8 here, and like 20 here and maybe 9 here, obviously that's a red flag. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward. It shows you exactly how the kids scored. Item detail, all I have to really do, I'm not going to do this now because this is kind of a whole workshop in itself, but what you can do is click on an item number on the chart, okay, and it gives you a full response distribution. So if I want to just analyze number 1, I can click on that and it will give me a breakdown of how every single kid in my class scored on that one particular question. Okay, I'll go back to item attributes and I'll show you some of the filters. We're going to be asked to analyze and filter this data a bunch of different ways. Some really easy ways to look at it. Just click on this bar right here where it says click to set a student filter. When you click that, it gives you a bunch of choices. Okay, you can filter kids' assessment data by gender. SWD means students with disabilities. So if I want to separate my special ed kids from the rest of the kids in the Gen Ed class and compare their scores to the other group, I could easily do that using this filter. You can filter it by LEP kids, kids that have just come here from another country, different ethnicities. You could do it by school of enrollment. So if we want to compare our scores here at Dickerson, maybe to kids down at McNair and show how much better our kids are than the McNair kids, we could easily do that by filtering by different schools. There's geographical data you can use to filter. There's intervention programs. So we have a kid who's an RTI, and we want to compare what he's doing versus the other kids in his class, how he's responding to some of the interventions. You can do that by using these filters. And then you can also create custom filters. Okay, you can go back here and you can create a filter of your own. Okay, so pretty interesting. If you wanted to show something to an individual student or even a parent, if you have a parent that emails you asking why the kid did poorly on the midterm exam, you can go down here to Jacob, pick out the student, hit the play button. You can get a full overview of the test, and then from there you can go up here to this permalink, and when you click permalink, what it does is create a special web address that you can email to a parent, and it will let them look at their kid's actual test. So if you get a call asking questions about why Johnny Jones did poorly on the midterm, you can email the parent the actual midterm, show him exactly what question he got wrong, exactly why he got it wrong, and the parent can look at it using this permalink, and they wouldn't be able to see any of the other kids in the class's scores. So you can protect private information from parents, children, other students, other teachers, just by using permalink to show an individual child's scores or data. Okay? If there are any questions about navigating what I've been using, because I am inside the student item analysis page, okay, I have a different set of helps. When you go to help from the home page, it just gives you the user manual. If I go to the help page once I'm inside the student item analysis board, it will give me ways to troubleshoot everything that basically I just showed you. Okay, it'll show you how to access a report, typing in the test name like I just showed you, how to look at the filters, the summary charts, how to go individual question by question when you look at the score table. Okay, it'll give you a summary of the charts, what each standard means, the percentage of students that got that standard correct versus the ones that didn't. It'll give you the achievement bands. You can compare your student right here to your school, and then compare your school to the district. Okay, the achievement band settings will allow you to look at all of these things inside one screen. Okay, the summary charts. Okay, I kind of explained the achievement band, so I'm not going to go into that again, but if you want another explanation or a better explanation than I gave you, you can read through this and you can read all about the achievement bands. Okay, the item detail. I showed you this, but we'll talk about it again for a second. Looking at each item and seeing how your students did versus other schools, the whole district. Okay, for this particular question, question number 1, we had, I guess right here, just over 80% of our students got that right. Okay, so as a teacher, I know that I did a good job of teaching that standard, and my kids proved that to me by showing me that they could, answer that question based on that standard on the test. Okay, you can always hover over it to show the percentages also. Okay, so you can't do it right now because this is just the help menu, but if this was my regular page and I was looking at item detail for this question, I could hover over this and it'll show me exactly the percentage of my kids that got that right. Okay? The score tables. Okay, we talked about the score table. I'm not going to go through it again, but this is all your students. This is what they got. And this is an item by item analysis of what they did on every single question. The interaction scores. You can just change this table to interaction scores by clicking from item scores to interaction. Instead of just giving you a 1 if you got it right and a 0 if you didn't, interaction scores will show you exactly what the kids picked. Okay, how could that be useful? Obviously, everybody who picked A is green and they got it right. Okay, but if I noticed that, let's say 90% of my students who got it wrong chose B, then I might want to take a look at B and see, what kind of choice that was, if it was too closely related to choice A. If I taught it correctly, if the question answer was ambiguous. There are a bunch of different reasons why 90% of my kids chose the same wrong answer. Okay, and that would be a way for me to kind of self-check what I'm doing, and to give the kids a better chance at being successful. The rubric scores, I kind of explained that, but this was the yellow where you can get a 1, 2, 3, or 4 on a question. It explains exactly what they wrote down and how it was scored. Some other important notes when you're looking at the content of these tests. One of the first things that we're going to show you is the permalink. Okay, if you're going to share any of this data with anybody, use that permalink tab that I showed you, so the information you share is specific to just that one child, and you're not giving everybody's scores to everybody you share it with. Okay, that's a very important note regarding using this platform, because if you don't use permalink, whatever you see on your screen is what you share. Okay. Understanding the filters, I really didn't go into too much depth with the filters because this was only a 2-hour workshop, and I really wasn't shown exactly what it is. I was just given a brief overview of the filters that they've built into the site. The ones that we might want to create, that's going to be up to us. Okay, and the additional options, I explained permalink. The rest of this stuff is just how to search out different item attributes, so you can actually search out the name of a test and a specific number. If I gave my kids a U.S. History 2 midterm and 90% of my kids got number 10 wrong, I'm going to search number 10 and I'm going to print it out, and I'm going to see exactly why they all got it wrong. And obviously that's something that we're going to go over again in class. Okay. Last thing is that you can also correct responses. If a kid types in something, you can respond to them and you can share it with them. So if your student types in an answer to an extended response question that's wrong, you can kind of put in some notes there on things that they might have mentioned to get a better grade, and you can share it with them. Okay? So this is a brief overview of Performance Matters. It looks like a very interesting and useful tool. If they're correct and they're telling us the truth, and we can keep all of our testing data in one place and we can access it this easily, I think this would be fantastic. I hope I didn't take too much of your time. I appreciate your listening. If you'd like to save this webinar, you can just save it like you would save any other email attachment, and you can refer back to it anytime you like. And I thank you very much for your time.